Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It is 7:30 and we are on day 8 of accountability. Day 8 of accountability. Good morning. Come on in. Come on in. It is 7:30 and we are ready to get started with our goals today. We're talking about setting SMART goals, and today we are on the R, which is realistic. This thing is getting good, it's getting real. Good morning, daughter. Hey, Brittany, you are on it, girl. You have been on every morning, and I appreciate you. Hey, Terrell, thank you so much for coming back and taking this 28-day journey with. I appreciate you all so very much. Uh-oh. What did I do? Oh, okay. There we go. I'm sorry. Good morning, Sister Sharonda. How are you? Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It is 7:30. And everybody already knows what time it is. That means it is goal time. It is accountability time. And we have been talking every day since the 1st of February about how we're going to be able to hold ourselves accountable. Good morning, Miss Carol, all the way from Mississippi. Thank you so much for joining every morning. You are on the line. I appreciate you as well. We've been talking about how we are going to be accountable. And for these 28 days, there's been a different message for you. And I really hope that something has been said that is sparking you, that is igniting that fire and that passion that you have to get up, get moving, get going, and making things happen for yourself, right? Because if we already said that the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, but then we expect different results. So we want to make sure that during these 28 days of accountability that we are doing something different, because at the end we want to see something different happen, right? So how many people want to see something different happen at the end of these 28 days? And that's why you keep getting up and you keep getting on the call each and every morning at 7:30. So I ask that you like, I ask that you love, and I ask that you share it out. Tell other people about what's going on so they too can get on the same accountability journey with you. You know, sometimes we need that partner, so we want to make sure that we have somebody that is getting the information as well, so we don't have to go back and teach them, right? So yes, share it out, and I love everyone for joining. Again, today is day 8, and we are talking about setting realistic goals. That's the R in the SMART goal acronym, in the SMART goal method. Setting realistic goals. So we are going to go ahead and get started. For those of you all who don't know, my name is Ebony Moncho, and I am a motivational speaker and accountability coach and the CEO of 360 HR Solutions. I teach entrepreneurs, leaders, and influencers all over the world how to build success. And we do that by helping them to create structure, to develop processes, and to implement solutions that are sustainable, right? So we want to make sure that whatever we create, whatever we develop, we can sustain it. All right, let's get started. I'm going to hope, since I kept you over yesterday, I want to make sure that I get you on and off in 15 minutes today. Y'all, yesterday that thing got good. It got real good. So I'm sorry I kept you all over, but today I'm going to stick to my 15 minutes. So our goals must be realistic when we create them. We have to make sure that they are realistic. Say it with me, realistic goals. This is where the rubber meets the road. The rubber meets the road for realistic. So goals that we create should be challenging to us. Remember, we talked about yesterday, they should stretch us, but they shouldn't be impossible, because then that's how we get that's how the feeling of being undefeated begins to seep in. That's when we start to feel as if, we're on this journey alone. We can't accomplish things when our goals are so impossible. They are unattainable. So we want to make sure that they're challenging because they stretch us to grow. They stretch us outside of our comfort zone, but they are at least within our reach, right? They're still within our reach. So not all goals are worthwhile as others. And that's important for us to understand that, our goal must be relevant to our overall plan for our lives. So first, you have to know what your plan is for your life. What is your divine purpose? Have you started to write out your own personal mission statement? Companies have a mission statement, a vision statement. They have core values. They have all of those things in place to help keep them aligned. So that way, when they start to go astray, they can go back and pull out that plan, and it shows what their mission is, what their vision is, and what their core values are. So, and as humans, as individuals, we should all have the same thing. We should have a mission statement, we should have core values, and we should have a vision statement. So that way, when we start to lose focus, we can go back, pull out our document, and then it helps get us back on focus. So I ask you, when you are writing down your goals, first, in order to determine if it's realistic, does it align with your overall purpose and plan for your life? And not just your overall plan and purpose, but we have to ask God, right? We have to seek Him to determine what His purpose and plan is for our lives too. Because if we have our plan and our purpose and it does not align with God's plan and purpose for our lives, we are not going to be successful. So we have to make sure that those two marry one another. They have to marry one another. We have to go check out Jeremiah 29:11. Go check it out. That is where we understand and we learn that God has a plan and a purpose for each one of us. So we want to make sure that those two marry. Lord, what is your plan and purpose? Because I may have a plan to be a pilot and fly all around the world, but God may have something else in store for me. And until I get on that track, then you guess what? I don't know if those of you all who know the story of Jonah, right? The story of Jonah. He had one plan for his life. He had one story, one way he wanted. He had written out his personal mission statement without consulting God. He had a plan and purpose in mind. But God had something totally different. He wanted him to go to Nineveh and preach and teach. And it wasn't until Jonah went to Nineveh that he was successful, right? So we have to make sure that we are asking God what His plan and purpose is for our lives. So keep that in mind when you are writing your mission and you are writing your vision and you are writing your core values. That piece is important too, right? So we want to make sure also that our goal is beneficial and that it is worth our time and that it is worth achieving, because then that's when we'll feel that intrinsic reward that we get when we have a positive benefit in our lives. So we want to make sure that it's beneficial, that it's worth our time, and that achieving it is going to give us that intrinsic reward. And again, we have to make sure that it aligns to some degree with other goals that we have created. We don't want to have goals that are on different ends of the earth, right? Can you imagine having a goal on the north side, the south side, the east side, and the west side? Like, it would be almost virtually impossible to bring all of those together to meet at some point. So we want to make sure that our goals are not all over the place, and they should connect some way, somehow. It should be some degree of connectivity to every goal that we have. And that's why it's important to make sure that it aligns with our purpose for our lives. Because then if we know our purpose, then each of our goals should fall in line under that purpose. Okay? So goals are achievable. Sometimes we select goals that are achievable, but they may not be realistic. So I'm gonna say that again. Sometimes we select goals that are achievable, but they are not realistic. So yes, can I, is it possible for me to lose 50 pounds? Yes. That may be achievable, but is that realistic for me in this time in my life? If I have so many things going on and I'm unable to exercise, I'm unable to commit to eating healthy, I have all of these external factors going on, then it may not be realistic today for Ebony. Not saying that it's not realistic at any other point, but it may not be realistic today. So we have to understand that sometimes goals are achievable, but they may not be realistic at that point in time. So we need to ask ourselves a question: do I need to revisit the priorities in my life in order to make this happen? If this is something that you are dead set on, and you know what, I don't care what come, what may, I am ready to lose these 50 pounds, then that means I need to revisit some of the things that I have prioritized as the top 10 things in my life. So then I can reprioritize and put the things in place that's necessary in order for me to accomplish that goal. So we need to look at what our top 10 priorities are. Look at those and then determine whether or not if those align with the goal that you have. And if they don't, and if you are dead set on accomplishing this goal, then you need to rearrange your priorities. We need to get our priorities in order then, right? So a goal, in order for it to be realistic, it must represent an objective that you are willing to work toward, and that you are able to work toward, right? There's a difference between willing and able. There's a difference between willing and able. So we can be willing again to do something, meaning my mindset says that I'm ready to accomplish this. I'm ready to put in the work. I'm ready to do it, but I'm not able. I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. I don't have the external factors are in the way, and they prohibit me from being able to accomplish those things. So we have to think about whether or not if this is something that I'm just willing to do, or if it's something that I'm both willing to do and I'm able to do. So we need to, as we writing in our journals and we are writing these things down every day, you need to make sure that we are writing down this part as well. Is it something that I'm willing to do? And is it something that I am able to do? Because that's how we determine if our goal is realistic. So let me give you an example, right? Now, if you expect to be able to buy a house in 1 year, right? And you want to be able to put down this astronomical down payment in order to purchase this house, do you think that it is realistic to think that you would be able to save $20,000 in 1 year and you're starting from ground zero? As of today, February 8th, I don't have a dime saved. Is it realistic to think that by December 1st, I'll have $20,000 saved if I have no clue where the money is going to come from, and I'm already stretched to capacity? Because if I had an extra flow of money, then I would have something saved already. So that's what we mean by saying, you know what, it may be achievable, but it may not be realistic in this time. So that's that, purchasing a house is something that's achievable. We can purchase property. We can get ourselves a condo, a house, a townhouse. That is achievable, right? But is it realistic today? So we want to make sure that we keep those things in mind when we are trying to develop and write down our goals, because the whole purpose in this journey is for us to be able to stick to it. So we have to set ourselves up in a position where we are not setting ourselves out for failure in the beginning. And we said we already understand that there are going to be landmines that we have to sidestep. We get that. We understand that. But we don't want to start out in a place where we are already defeated. We don't want to start step one in a place of defeat, right? So it's important for you to find an ideal balance between challenging and impossible that works for you. There is a place in between the two. So you have challenging on one end of the spectrum and you have impossible on the other end of the spectrum. We have to figure out where we are on that chart. And then we have to look at ourselves truthfully in the mirror to determine where am I on the spectrum of challenging and impossible. So that way I know where I need to grow, where I need to work on for myself, so I can get myself to a place where I'm comfortable. Now, sometimes we get extremely excited, right, about our goals. We get extremely excited about that thing. It gets good. And I know for myself, when I am excited about something that I want to achieve, because Ebony is impulsive. Transparency. Ebony is impulsive. So there are some times when I get so excited about a thing that I lose sight of reality, right? And when I lose sight of reality, it is then harder in order to achieve that goal, because now we are not living in reality. And we have to make sure that we keep our focus. We have to make sure that we keep the goal in mind, because the more we have it, so that's why it's important to write it down and have your board up, because the more we keep it in front of us, no matter how excited we get, we won't lose focus and we won't lose sight of what it is that we're actually trying to accomplish, right? And the moment our focus stays on the reality, the moment our focus stays on realistic goals, then we are motivated to come up with that detailed action plan that we talked about on yesterday when we talked about goals being attainable, and the day before when we talked about goals being measurable, right? We have to have a detailed action plan. And so when we are focused on the goal, then it's easier for us to have that detailed action plan. So there are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself when you are trying to determine whether or not if you are setting realistic goals. There are 3 questions. So I hope you have your pens ready. I hope you have your pad ready. There are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself when you're determining if your goal is realistic. The first question you need to ask yourself is, what is it that I want out of life? What do I want out of life? What am I trying to accomplish? What is my purpose? Again, that leads us back to that mission statement. Make sure you have a personal mission statement. What is it that you want out of life? The second question that you want to ask yourself is, what kind of life is it that I want to live? What kind of life do I want to live? I want to remind everyone that's out there watching, everyone that's listening, that you can only be the best that you can be. People have so many thoughts about us. They have so many visions for us, but we can only be the best that we can be for us according to our own mission, according to our own personal values, according to our own vision in life. We can only be the best that we can be. right? So it's important for you to understand what kind of life do you want to live. Not what kind of life your mama wants you to live, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your kids. What kind of life is it that you want to live? I want you to write that down. Write down that question and then write down the answer and be truthful with yourself. You know, some of us have a spirit of competition. You know, and if we have a spirit of competition, it's impossible for us to be able to really figure out in our minds what kind of life it is that we want to live if we are busy trying to compete with our next sister or our next brother. Or if we are jealous of other individuals. It's hard to figure out the life that you want to live when you are envious of the life that your sister has. It's difficult. So we have to be able to determine what kind of life is good for Ebony. What is it that Ebony wants out of life? You know, having a spirit of competition is unhealthy, and it is a recipe for disaster. So you have to be inspired to be the best you, and don't compare yourselves to other people. As they say, you know, as my kids say, you do you and I'ma do me, right? You do you and I'ma do me. A couple of years ago when my dad was here as a pastor, we had Pastor Marvin Wiley out of Maywood, Rock of Ages, come, and he preached a sermon for us. And I will never forget this sermon. I want to say this was probably back in like 2010. And that sermon was about, the title was, we're shooting a hole in the boat that we're riding in. And sometimes that's what we do. We shoot holes in our own boats because we are not content. We are not satisfied. We don't understand. We don't know. We're lost with the type of life that we're trying to live. He told us, and Sharonda, my sister Sharonda is watching. She can attest. He told us in that sermon that the best thing that we can do for ourselves is we can get up, walk out of our houses, go across the street to the Jones. We can go across the street to Mr. and Mrs. Jones' house, ring their doorbell, and let them know you won. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you won. I'm done trying to compete with you. You know, on Christmas, your house is full of lights. I'm done trying to outbeat you. On Easter, you know, you have the Easter bunnies and all of your decorations out. I'm done trying to outbeat you. You went bought a BMW, so I went bought a Mercedes. I'm done trying to outbeat you. Your wife come over and she has, you know, red bottoms on. So I went out and maxed my credit card so I can get some red bottoms as well. I'm done trying to outbeat you. You won. Jones, you won. And then you come back across the street to your house, you close the door, and then you live the life according to the life you want to live. I want everyone to say to yourself, I'm done competing with the Joneses. I'm going to live the life that I want to live for me. I'm going to live a God-ordained life, the life that God has ordained for me, for Ebony, for Jillian, for Brandy, for Terrence, for Terrell, for Frashonda, for Rodney. I'm living for Brittany. I'm living the life for Christina. I'm living the life for me. Jones, you won. Say it out loud. Jones, you won. I'm done. You do you, and I'ma do me, right? That's our post for today. Hashtag, you do you, and I'ma do me. Now, the third question that you need to ask yourself is, will you be where you want to be when you get to where you're going? Ooh, that's tight there, right there, y'all. That's tight. Will you be where you want to be when you get to where you're going? When you get to the end of your journey, to the end of your destination, will you be where you want it to be? We have to really see these questions are requiring us to do some soul searching. We have to do some soul searching. So I want you to write that question down, think about it, pray on it, and then write the answer. When you look at your goal and then you look at what that end result will you be happy? Will you be where you want to be in life when you get to the end of the journey? Like Boys to Men say, when I get to the end of the road, right? Will you be where you want to be? Because no other factor determines the quality of life as the goals that you set for yourself. Remember, the goals that we set for ourselves determine our quality of life. It determines the quality of life that we have. So because we know that our goals determine our quality of life, we have to make sure that we understand what the end of the journey is going to look like. So I need you to put on your spiritual glasses, put on your spiritual goggles. Clean out the contacts. Let them sit in the solution for a little while. Put them back on and put them on with a spiritual eye and see what the end of the road is going to look like. Envision it with the goal that you have written for yourself. And is that where you want to be? Is that where you truly want to be? And if it isn't, then that means we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to go back to our goals. We need to rethink that thing. We need to repurpose, right? We have to figure out our purpose. So that's what I want you to do. Maybe by tomorrow, that may be too soon, but by Monday when you come on this call, I want you to have your personal mission statement written. Because that's what's going to help you determine what the end of the road is going to look like. Write that personal mission statement so that way you can then align your goals underneath. And then you can make sure that you stay the course, that you stay committed to it. Remember, it is our goals that keep us focused. Right? And I want everybody on the call to remember, Jones, you won. I'ma do me, and you know what? You do you. I'm good on that, boo, right? It's okay. There is so much power in the word no. There is power in the word no. When we get to a place in our lives where we can comfortably say the word no, no, because I don't have the money to go to dinner today. No, because I'm working on my goals, so I can't babysit your kids today. No, I cannot drive you to the store. No, I cannot take those calls for you. No, I'm not cooking dinner tonight because tonight is the day that I set aside. It's on my calendar and I'm working on Ebony today. I'm working on my goals. I'm working on my vision. I'm working on my plan. I'm 15 days into my 30-day journey. And you know what? I have to make sure that by the 30th day that I have accomplished my bite-sized goal that I wrote for myself that I wanted to accomplish in those 30 days. So in order for me to do that, I have to set the time aside. So no, I cannot do it today. Not today. Maybe tomorrow. But today is the day that I set aside for myself. So I can't do it today. I'm sorry. Can you walk the dog? No, not today, babe. I'm sorry. I can't walk poo-poo today. I can't do it. Maybe tomorrow. You know what? I got you tomorrow. So we have to get comfortable with the word no. And I know I am preaching to Ebony today because it's hard to say that word no, especially when we have our family and friends that we so much, some of us, we have crutches within family members or friends. So sometimes it's difficult to say that word no. But we want to make sure that we are able to use the word no, right? Okay, so we have our 3 questions that we need to ask ourselves, right? In order for us to determine if our goals are realistic. I want you to make sure that you write your personal mission statement. Make sure that you answer the 3 questions underneath your personal mission statement. And then I want you to meet me back here tomorrow morning as we talk about the last letter in the SMART goal method, and that is the T, and that is making sure our goals are time sensitive. I thank you for joining each and every day. We are on day 8 and we are trekking. We are moving ahead. Tomorrow is day 9. I know it's Saturday and a lot of us don't have to get up on Saturdays, but I beseech you, my brethren, to meet me here tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Again, my name is Ebony Moncho. I am a motivational speaker and accountability coach and the CEO of 360 HR Solutions. I teach entrepreneurs, leaders, and influencers all over the world how to build success. And I do that by teaching them how to create structure, develop processes, and implement solutions that are sustainable. Thank you so much. I love each one of you all for joining, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 7:30.